Hi guys and welcome to a new video how to make metal in FL Studio, and today I want to tell you how to make a good metal song with the intro, with riff, with verse and with chorus. So let's go. First of all, I want to tell you all about the instruments that I used and all the plugins that I used to make the instrument sounds good. Let's go. First instrument is a synth. I used Dune 3 and it sounds something like that. And what about the plugins that I used? It's a glue. Of course, I use the keys, rock organ. I don't turn any knobs, I just use this preset and that's all. After that, I use the destructor with the preset noise mode and turn some knobs to make the sound not so fuzzy and make it a little bit soft for your ears. After that, I use the OTT with 44% of depth. And of course the Susu, but right now I just off it because it's too overloading the system. But about the preset, it's the Synth mid cleanup. After that I made a choir, but not so quiet, it's something like the ambient on the background of the song, but it sounds something like that. Of course, I use Dune 3, it's a Cathedral KC, and the plugins that I used is a glue, the preset vocal back slammed, OTT on the 12%, fresh air with the 18 of mid air and the 4 of a higher air. And of course I use the fruity parametric equalizer to make the little bit harsh sounds not so noisy and make it a little bit soft. And of course the sus too. It's a vocal harshness ultra. And after that I made the guitars and it sounds something like that. And as for me it sounds really good. And what about the guitar? It's a Contact 5 and a Shredder's 3 Hydra with the preset Hydra Modern Metal 1. And what about the settings? It's all the 4 guitars, it's a picking mode down, anti-repetition. In the performance I click on the chord change. And in the advanced I make it sounds little bit like it's played by the real person. And of course about the plugins, it's a glue, guitar electric, tame. After that I use the OTT with 22% and fruity equalizer and make it little bit softer and delete all the not so good sounds that really make the guitar bad. And of course about the Susu, it's a guitar death spike. It's really very important to make the sounds a little bit soft. So and let's go to the bass. It's just duplicated the guitar riff, but it's not so important. Let's go to the instrument. It's an ample metal ray with a default preset without any changes. But what about the plugins? It's a glue, guitar, bass, picking, and of course the Sus2 with a double bass low glue. So it's nothing difficult to make the bass sounds good. And what about the drums? I use the Easy Drummer with the Drumkit from hell and the tape. And what about the adjustments? I made the plates not so loud, I make it little bit low sound, just not to make the sound too harsh. And of course about the plugins, it's a glue with a drum rock parallel room and Sus2 with a hi-hat remover to make it sounds better, without any not so necessary sounds. Yes, it's all about all the instruments. And of course it will be very important to mention the stereo separation. So the synths in the middle between the stereo and the mono, the choir the same, the bass it's all in the mono. It's the main important synth. And just look on the volume adjustments. The synths and the choir a little bit lower than the guitar drums and the bass just duplicate the synth choir. So the main instruments in the song is a guitar and drums. And what about the fruity limiter? I used it to make the sidechain. So sidechain for the guitar. is going to the synth and going to the choir. So we click on the guitar, we click the right mouse button on this one and click sidechain to this track, and it's going to here. And now we have the fruity limiter on the guitar. We don't need to make anything here. And after that we go into the choir and make here a fruity limiter, click on the comp, sidechain, right mouse button and click on the guitar. And after that we make the threshold something like this, knee and ratio something like this, attack on the 0 and release on the 7.65 milliseconds. But you can make it something like you want, but you can just duplicate all the I made to make the sound like me. And what about the synth? I made the same thing. Comp, sidechain and the threshold, knee, ratio, attack and release. It's all same for the choir and synth. So right now, when I told you how I made the sounds good, let's go to the structure of the songs and all the parties. So the song starting with the choir. So listen. So for the choir we use the D sharp 3 and it's all the notes we use for our intro. And after that there is a Dune 3, it's the main synth and it sounds something like that. And what about the notes? You can see all the notes I used, it's all the riff I used to make it sounds good. And about the velocity, you can also duplicate all the sounds I used. So what about this sound? After these 3 notes, just listen. I mean about this 4th note that making it a little bit lower. So we have the D sharp 4 and D sharp 2 that make all the sound. This, I don't know, this cybernetic sound like a cyberpunk or something like that, and it sounds really good. And also it's very important to play in this velocity and make that the sound will go in a proper way and sounds good. And after that in intro we'll be adding the drums, so listen. So we just play it. It's a plays D5 and it sounds something like it. No, so difficult to make. And after that there is a guitar and the drums. Just listen to the drums. So we have the kick and a snare. After that we have this plate and this one. And it sounds something like that. It sounds really good. And what about the guitar? Let's go. I explain you what I made. So we have this one. So it's a palm mutes on the D sharp 3. We're just making these notes and in the velocity making the palm mutes notes. Just by down the velocity of these notes. And what about this one? It's just to make the different sound of your notes. It's the main sound of the guitar. It's something like... Let me explain. If I made it here, it will sound not so good. But if we made it here, it will sound the proper way. So what about, I mean, click on this one, click on this one, click on this one, click on this. So it's the adjustments of the guitar. All this from the C1 to B1 is the adjustments and you can use it to make the sounds good. So I made all these notes in the palm mute with the default setting, and these notes in the D sharp 5 I made in F sharp 1 to make these sounds good. And all together it sounds something like that. And what about this part of the song? Dune 3 with the synth not different, the choir not different, and all the difference in the drum, bass and guitar. So let's start with the drums. And here we have not so difficult pattern. We have the plates and we have the snare and kick. And all this sounds something like that. And by the way, if you want to make the song by yourself, or maybe you need some notes, maybe you need some riffs, or you need just a drum pattern, you can go to my Patreon and get it from there. So, let's go to the bass intro. It sounds really good, just listen. And it's duplicated the guitar at all. So it's D sharp 3, A sharp 3, and E3, A3, and C sharp 4. So, and it sounds really good. It's not so difficult, it's really easy riff, but it sounds really good. And what about the guitar? It sounds just like the bass, but the only difference that I made here is adjustments. So just listen how it sounds. And all the settings, I mean about the C1 after the F sharp 1, it's really neat because if I delete it, and after the main part of this riff, the ending, it sounds like that. And here I use not C1 but D1. D1, it's not default setting in something like it's making the 2 or 3 notes chords. Instead of you just click on the one note and it's make it automatically the 2 or 3 notes that need it to be to make it sounds good. I don't know how to explain, but I think you really understand what I'm talking about. And what the bass is the same. And it sounds something like that. And here is the verse. And what about the choir? It sounds on the fourth note as D sharp 3, B2, G sharp 3 and A sharp 3. It sounds, it's something like that. And it sounds really, really good. And the bass just duplicated this choir. So on the verse we have 3 patterns of drums, and I told you about all these patterns. So the first pattern not so difficult, it's just a kick and a plate. After that, there is some extended version of the previous pattern. It's just adding the snare. So, and after that, I used this pattern to make it sound really good. So here we have the plates and the kick and only the snare. So and sounds it's something like that. And altogether it sounds really good, just listen. And after that we go into the chorus. So the choir the same as in the verse, and the guitar and the bass also duplicated the choir. So just listen how it sounds. So what about the bass? It's nothing different, but because it sounds really like in the verse. But what about the chorus guitar? So just listen. So what about the difference between the main riff and the chorus guitar? Look on the main riff and look on the velocity. It's on the maybe 70%, 66% of the velocity on the open notes and on the 23% of velocity on the palm mutes. And it sounds really different because in the main riff we need to make a sound clear, but what about the chorus? We need to make it not so clear, we can make it a little bit harsh, so we use first of all D1 instead of C1 to make it sounds with the chords, not the one note. And what about the velocity? I just up it to 77% instead of the 68%, and it's really big difference because just listen to the difference, it's not so difficult. It's more clear. And just listen this one. There is a little bit of the synth, some blue sound, not so pretty for your ears, but with all the other instruments and the vocal, it sounds really, really good. So just listen how it sounds. And to see the difference, just listen how it will sound with the C1. Not so good. And now all together. And it's really sound good. And what about the end of the song? It's just something like in the intro, I mean the same riff and the same instruments. So, in the ending, I want to remember you that if you want to support me, or maybe get some FLP project for yourself to make this sound, to make this song, you can go to my Patreon and get it there. So, at the end, I want to tell you about the master. So, the glue. It's a mastering at sustain without turning any knobs. It's a OTT 22% of depth and fresh air 16% of the mid air and 6% of the high air. And that's all. And what about the sus 2? It's just the mastering side razor fix. It's very important to make it not so synth and not so blue sounds. So if you don't understand what I'm talking about when I say the synth and blue sound, so let me explain you. So what about the guitar? Let's listen just the guitar and you will understand what I'm talking about. I just will click off the fruity parametric equalizer. So this is a synth and blue sound. So maybe some other producers don't talk you about these sounds and maybe they use some different word to explain this sound, but I told on this just the synth and blue sound. So if you enjoyed this video and if it was maybe some helpful for you, just click on the like, subscribe on my channel and leave your comment. And of course don't forget about my Patreon. The episode was with you. Goodbye.